Hi, I'm Mr. C, the teacher, and this is my classroom. Over the years, I've created hundreds of lessons in every subject area. That's tons of topics to teach. So grab your tools for school and join in with us. Or sit back and just watch. And let's go on a learning journey together, because you're watching Lessons from the Classroom. Let's take a look at what the topic for today's episode is going to be about. In today's lesson for math, we're going to take a look at some 3D solids. That means these are shapes that have a top and a bottom, a front and a back, and sides to them. We can look all around them. They're not flat like 2D shapes. 2D shapes are things like square, circle, triangle, rectangle. Instead, what we've got are 3D solids, so top, bottom, and sides, and there's different ones like the cylinder, the cone, a cube, a rectangular prism, a triangular prism, a sphere, and even shapes like pyramids. Those are 3D solids. We'll learn about their corners, their faces, their sides, their edges. When we look at a 3D solid, can we see different shapes that would be flat shapes, like a square or a rectangle, for instance, or maybe a circle and a triangle? Let's learn more about 3D solids. In this week's episode, we're going to look at the math concept of 3D solids. Those are shapes that have top, bottom, sides, front, and back. And some of those shapes or solids that we're going to look at are spheres, cones, cubes, rectangular prisms, and cylinders. We see those in everyday objects. Let's take a closer look with some of our worksheets on 3D solids. When it comes to 3D solids, we begin to recognize that we actually see them all over the place in our world. We start to notice how a rectangular prism is in a Kleenex box, and how a cube, well, is in a pair of dice or in a sugar cube. How a cone can be recognized as a parking cone or an ice cream cone. That a cylinder is nothing more than a water bottle or a pop can. That a sphere we recognize as the shape that we see in balls. That a sphere is the same as a sports ball. And even a rectangular prism might be found, well, in a box of chocolates. 3D solids are everywhere in our world. So the next time you're building with your blocks, notice how your castle is made out of lots of shapes. Triangular prisms, cylinders, cubes, rectangular prisms, and so much more.
Worksheet lessons.
So here we have a worksheet on 3D solids. And it says, circle the shapes that have, in this case it wants to know if it has a rectangular face. Do we see a rectangular face on this? No. Do we see a rectangular face on this one? No. Do we see a rectangular face on this? Yes, there's the rectangle. So when I look at these shapes, no, no, yes. And we're going to circle that one. Rectangular face. This question says, circle the shapes that have a circular face. Do we see a circular face? Yes, we do. Right there. So this cone has a circular face on the bottom, right here. Just like this rectangular prism had a rectangle face right in here, but also on some of the other sides as well. Now, does this cube have a circular face? No. Does this cylinder have a circular face? Yes, it does, right here, and also on the other end. So this one's a yes. We have a circular face on the top, as well as one on the bottom too. This one asks, circle the shapes that have a rectangular face. Well, look at that. There's a rectangular face right there. So we're going to circle this one. And it's got lots of rectangular faces. For example, this side right here. It's a rectangular face. Does this one have a rectangular face? No. How about this one? Does it have a rectangular face? No. A bonus question. Circle the shapes that have a triangular face. And we've got a new one here. This is a triangular prism. And let's take a look. Why, yes, we do have a triangular face. So we can circle this one, because there's the triangular face right there. Does this one have a triangular face? No. And does this one have a triangular face? No. So there's our answers. All right, it's that time in our show when we have our segment that I like to call Questionable Letters. And that's where a viewer writes in to ask us something. Let's see what today's letter is going to ask.
That was the question again. Can I go home now? My head's full.
Well, here's today's letter from a viewer that's written in. And she writes, Dear Mr. C, what is the biggest and oldest 3D solid you have ever seen? From Polyhedron. Well, Polly, I can tell you the biggest 3D shape I've ever seen, and I've also actually been inside it, is the Great Pyramids of Giza, which are over 4,000 years old. But there's also been lots of other buildings that use all sorts of 3D solids, rectangular prisms, cubes, cylinders, in their buildings as well. There are skyscrapers shaped like giant rectangular prisms, or Science World in Vancouver, which is a big sphere, or in Paris, France at the Louvre, there's a glass pyramid. And then in the Mediterranean, we got lots of houses shaped like cubes, and even cylindrical lighthouses down along the shoreline. People have been using 3D solids to build structures for thousands of years. So when we think of 3D solids in larger construction, we can take a look and see this rectangular prism used right here as a base stone. And up above it, cylinders of stone to make these columns. And in fact, when you take a look across this courtyard, we can see how these columns have been created out of cylinders. And some of these are 1,800 years old and still standing.
More worksheet lessons.
Here we have a worksheet on 3D solids called edges. It says faces meet at edges. This face and this face meet on this edge. Shade the edges. How many edges? Let's take a look at this cone. Well, it has an edge that goes around here, but it just has the one edge. One edge. And if I were to shade it, here it is here. Let's take a look at this rectangular prism. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. There's 12 edges on this one. And if I were to shade the edges, it would be on all these sides. Even the ones that are behind in this picture, which are shown by dotted lines. Let's take a look at our cube next. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just like our rectangular prism, it has 12 edges. And if we were to shade them, all of these edges again, even the ones shown with dotted lines, which are the ones that are hiding behind, all of these edges need to be shaded in. Let's take a look at the cylinder. It has 1, just like the cone, but on the other side has another 2. 1, 2, 2 edges. 2. Here's one edge, and here's the other edge. Bonus, draw a shape with 0 edges. But look at this one. Here's the sphere. There are no flat faces that meet anywhere. This sphere is 0 edges, so I can draw a circle. Sometimes what I draw is I draw like a little bubble line like that to make it look 3D. Maybe even give it a little shadow down here. 0 edges. All right, it's time in our episode for this segment that I like to call the Did You Know Fun Facts.
Did you know?
All 3D shapes have 3 measurements: length, width, and height. 2D shapes only have length and width. The common types of 3D solids include cone, cube, rectangular prism, cylinder, and sphere, along with also the pyramid. Only the triangular prism actually has 9 edges.
And now you know.
What do circles say when they meet? Nice to see you around. Well, that joke certainly fell flat.
More worksheet lessons.
So here we have a worksheet on 3D solids, and it's called corners. And it's telling us to draw a dot on the corners and count the corners. And we'll write how many corners it has on this little line. First one they've done for us is an example. Here's a cone, and the only corner it really has, its pointer, its apex, is right up here. So it just has one. Let's take a look at the next shape, which is the cube. We'll count the corners. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and down here on the bottom, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 corners on a cube. Let's draw dots for those corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, way in the back here, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 corners. Let's take a look at our rectangular prism here. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the back side of it, it's got another 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 corners. Let's draw dots on those corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Went on this back corner here behind it. 8. It has 8 corners. Let's take a look at our cone. There are no corners here because it's a round circle, but up here at the apex, it's got a point or a corner. So it's got 1. 1 right up here. We'll write that in as 1. Now, down here it says, circle the shapes that have 0 corners. Well, let's take a look at the cylinder. It doesn't have any corners. That one has 0. We'll circle it. 0. Here's our cone. We just talked about that one. It does have one corner at the top. Here's our cube. We've talked about that one. That one has a lot of corners, 8 in fact. Here's a sphere. A sphere is perfectly round. It doesn't have any flat edges. It doesn't have any corners. It has 0. We'll circle this one. And here's our rectangular prism. We counted that one before as well. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 corners, so we won't circle that. There we go.
You know, I love being surrounded by great books, because one of my favorite things to do is to read stories. So, let's make some time right now and read a storybook. This is story time.
Mr. Sharp's Shapes. "Wake up!" shouted Mr. Sharp. "I need some shapes. Wake up now!" Mr. Sharp held a drawing in his hand. He wanted to build something. A sleepy red sphere rolled over to him and asked, "What are you going to build today, boss?" "You'll see," said Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp looked at his drawing. "First, I need a shape that I can stack," he said. He pointed to the cubes and shouted, "I want all of you to slide over here. Hurry up!" The cubes moved quickly. Mr. Sharp asked the first cube, "How many faces do you have?" "6 square faces, sir," answered the cube. "Good," said Mr. Sharp. "Follow me." Mr. Sharp returned. "I need another shape that can stack." "We can stack," said the cylinders. "How?" laughed Mr. Sharp. "You're so round." Yes, but we have 2 faces, answered the cylinders. Okay, come with me, said Mr. Sharp. I wonder what the boss is building, said the red sphere. It doesn't matter, said the blue sphere. We won't get picked. Why not? Asked the little sphere. Because he only asked for shapes that can stack, said the blue sphere. We can't do that. The spheres wondered if they were ever going to be picked. Mr. Sharp came back. Next, he said, I need a shape that is curved. At first, the spheres were excited because they were curved. Then Mr. Sharp said he wanted the shape to have a face, and a point, too. Mr. Sharp picked the cone and rolled it out the door. When he came back, Mr. Sharp asked the little sphere, What's your name? I'm a sphere, sir, answered the smallest one. Well, I need all of the big spheres, said Mr. Sharp. Hooray! Shouted the big spheres as they rolled to the door. The little sphere was very sad. Mr. Sharp used all of the shapes that stack to build a spaceship. He used the spheres for planets. There's something missing, he thought. He looked at his drawing. All of the shapes were in the right place, so what was the problem? Aha! Thought Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp needed the little sphere too. All of the shapes were in a show.
The ice cream's going to my head. The ice cream's going to my head. Brain freeze! Brain freeze! I'm so glad I'm a parking cone and not that guy.
More worksheet lessons.
Here we have a 3D solids worksheet. And down the center, we have 3D solids: cylinder, cube, cone, sphere, rectangular prism, and triangular prism. And on both sides, we have real-life items that we've got to match to it. They've done the first one for us here. Our sphere matches a tennis ball, which is also a sphere. And our sphere can also match to an orange. Let's take a look at our cylinder, though. What can that match to? So our cylinder matches to a can. And our cylinder can also match to what looks like maybe a log or something here, a piece of wood. Our cube can match to a present. And a cube could also match to this die, one piece from a set of dice. Hey, here we go. We've got a cone, and this cone can match to the party hat down here. And this cone could also match to, well, an ice cream cone. Here we have our sphere, which we match to this orange, as well as this tennis ball. But oh, look at this. There's also a match to what looks like this planet. Maybe it's our moon. So this rectangular prism, well, it matches, nothing on that side. And on this side, oh, we've got a Kleenex box. Oh, and look, also a cereal box. And then we have a triangular prism. And in this case, it's going to match up here what looks like a tent for camping in. And on this side, looks like that might be some kind of chocolate bar or something right there. Now we've matched our 3D solids to real-life items.
All right, well, it looks like I've got plenty of art supplies and tools on hand, so I guess it's time to do some quick art creations.
Quick art creations.
So when we make a net of a 3D solid, what we're simply doing is tracing each one of the sides together. Let me show you. It's like this. So if I were to unfold this shape, really what I've got is the bottom, the left-hand side, the right-hand side, front, the back, and the top. Now I can cut those out and put them back together. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to add a few little folding flaps. So just a little extension right here. Okay, just need my scissors now to cut it out. Okay, now I just have to fold all those inside lines. I'm also going to fold these little tabs. Now, because I want to turn my 3D net back into a rectangular prism, and I want to make it look like a building, I'm going to flip it over onto the back side, and I think I'm going to draw in some doors and some windows. I want to draw from what's going to be the bottom up towards where the roof is. Let's put in a couple of doors here. And then some windows. All right, I've got my windows all added in. I think now we just need a little hot glue to be able to glue this together. All right, and there we've got my 3D solid to look like a little apartment building.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show.
We hope you had fun and learned lots.
We hope you had a lot of fun. In fact, we hope you had a ball. I cracked myself up.
Hey, how come Cone's so silent? Shh! He's in his cone of silence. Hey guys, what's a blockhead? Yeah, all right. Listen, guys, we haven't got time for any of that. We've got to say goodbye now. Got to sign off from the episode, all right? So thanks for joining us, and see you next time on Lessons from the Classroom, or at least you'll see Mr. C, the teacher. You might not see us. We're just in this episode. Yeah, because we're 3D shapes, solids, and so it's just us in this episode only. All right, goodbye.